Sisters and brothers, Awei Nusimi. Pastor Melo speaking. Today we will discuss our 7th FAQ. It concerns the enigma of the disappearance of the 12 tribes of Isolele. Most of the students, exegetes and scholars of the Bible and the history of the Hebrews have used tons of saliva and blackened millions of pages about the disappearance of the 12 tribes from Jacob, in Simba. The enigma of the disappearance of the tribes of Isolele holds in a small sentence, a small verse which is found in Psalm chapter 83. This is the 3rd verse. Note that in some Bibles this verse may come in 4th position, which says, "Here we can see the necessity to consult several Bibles when arises a doubt about the exact translation." We shall quote, amongst others, 1. The David Martin Bible. "They consulted finally in secret against your people, and they held counsel against those who withdrew to you to hide." 2. John Nelson Darby's Bible. "They are cleverly plotting against your people, and they are consulting against your hidden followers." 3. The Zador Khan Bible. "Against your people, they hatch plots, they conspire against those you protect." 4. King James Bible. "They took clever advice against your people, and consulted together against those you hide." 5. The Pirot Clamor Bible. "They hatch a secret plot against your people, they conspire against those you protect." 6. The Louis II Bible. "They have devious plans against your people, and they have deliberated against those whom you protect." To top it all, we call to the bar the Hebrew Bible, from which, in principle, all the above translations are taken. "They have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted against your hidden ones." You'll see that there are two sides to this. The Almighty protect his people camp and the Almighty hide his people camp. The referee who comes to close the debate is the Hebrew Bible, which says, "those whom the Almighty hides." And this is how a single verb, the verb hide, gives the key to the riddle concerning the 12 tribes of Isolele. These tribes have not disappeared as stated unanimously by Biblists and historians, but are hidden. For greater clarity, it is essential to understand why it was necessary for the Most High to institute the famous 12 tribes. It must be understood from the outset that the Bible has gone from the original language of humanity, the Kikongo, to the first translation made of it by the priests of Babylon when the Hebrews were deported to these lands. In doing so, most of the names found today in the Bible have been translated into Babylonian. The most striking evidence that will be given is the names of the 3 original patriarchs, Nsingi, a name which in Kikongo means, "the father of many nations," became Abraham with similar meaning in translation, Nsaka, which in Kikongo means, laugh, joke, has become, when translated, Yitzhak, Isaac, in Simba, which in Kikongo means, the twin who grabbed his brother's foot, became Yaakov, Jacob, the heel. Notice that the first part of the meaning, namely, the one who grabbed his brother's heel, is implied. In Simba contains 2 other meanings that were lost in Yaakov, Jacob. Indeed, it also means, the one who fought with the angel, Mbasi, and the one who was blessed by the angel, in Sambu. In the sacred writing of the Meloitic, these 3 meanings give in the consonant form, SB, BS. SB. The first act of this fantastic saga is the following. When the Hebrews left Egypt under the leadership of Mazza, another Kikongo name that found itself during its evolution altered in Moshe, Moses, Musa, etc., foreigners cling to the tribes of Isolele and convert to Judaism. It is the numerous Pete of Exodus 12:38. Many foreigners also went up with them, as well as sheep and oxen, very considerable cattle. The Ost of Old Bible. Second act. When Israel was deported to Assyria, the king of Assyria practiced a policy of replacement. he first sent foreign subjects to occupy the territory that would become the territory of the Samaritans and, second, Hebrew priests to teach the law of Moses. That is to say Judaism to these foreigners. 2 Kings 17, from verse 24. Third act. The proselytism practiced by those who themselves converted in Judaism does wonders. Thus a few centuries later, at the Pentecost of Jerusalem from which originated Christianity, gathered in Jerusalem people of all nations that are under heaven, an innumerable multitude converted to Judaism, Parthians, Medes, and Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia, Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, Egypt and the parts of Libya near Cyrene, visitors from Rome, both Jews and converts to Judaism, Cretans and Arabs. Acts 2, 9–11. Therefore, it must be understood that all these foreigners claim to be Nsinghi, Nsaka and Nsimbas, Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, descendants, without any blood connection with them, converted along the way, so to speak. They have no recollection of the Exodus as emerges from the following text, but we are descendants of Abraham, Nsinghi, they said. We have never been slaves to anyone. What do you mean? You will be set free. Acts 8:33. The founding act of Isolele is the Hebrews' exit from slavery in Egypt. Where do these pseudo-Jews come from, who forcefully claim to have never known slavery? Fourth act. What people generally don't know is that if the first Jewish home in Christ's time is in Palestine, the second is in Africa. Indeed, it existed, between 170 BC and 71 AD JC. In Leontopolis, Tel El Yehudi, the Hill of the Jews, in the Egyptian Delta, another Jewish temple, outside that of Jerusalem, founded by Onias IV, son of the exiled high priest Onias III. This temple was destroyed under the Roman Emperor Vespasian, who feared that the Jews would regroup there after the destruction of the Great Temple of Jerusalem in 70 April. J.C. Fifth Act. 30 years after the coming of Christ, his crucifixion under Pontius Pilate and his resurrection, the very foundation of the Christian faith, the 12 tribes who, according to the testimony of the Apostle Paul, served God continually night and day, Acts chapter 26 verse 7, they decide to emigrate to Africa. They know, in fact, that a real genocide will fall on Jerusalem and its surroundings according to the prophecies of the Messiah who was crucified. They will join the members of the 12 tribes that have settled there for nearly 200 years. The first wave of Jewish migration to Egypt occurred during the Maccabean War, which took place from 175 to 140 BC. The second is therefore that which follows the great Roman persecution exercised against the Jews by the Emperor Vespasian, already quoted, and his son, Titus, the destroyer of the Temple of Jerusalem. Sixth act. The 12 tribes, inspired by the Most High, decide to hide in the heart of Ethiopia, the biblical name of Africa, Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 10, by following the course of the Nile River, which takes its origin in the eastern part of the Congo. From there, they followed the route that would lead them to their haven of rest, their divine refuge, Congo dir Ntotila. More specifically, it is more or less the itinerary that the famous English explorer Sir Henry Morton Stanley was to take centuries later to open up Belgian Congo to the world. As a nod to their true identity, they call the 12 tribes, Mavala, in other words, the hidden tribes, and thus become one with the words of Psalm 83 cited at the beginning of this video. Two important Isimes remarks before closing this 7th FAQ. I've already had the opportunity to say, the best place to hide a secret is in people's disbelief. Tata Nzambi reduced the 12 Mavala to such a humble state that when they were discovered by the Portuguese at the end of the 15th century, the latter were literally blinded by their unbelief. Despite the Congo's society being organized around 12 tribes, despite the fact that their habits and customs, beginning with circumcision, were strangely similar to those of the Jews. Despite the fact that their language, highly sophisticated, had Latin sounds. To bounce back on the theme of language, it is the contempt towards Africans in particular, blacks in general, that made that although white people studied Kikongo, they did not notice that it was a biblical language, a divine language, as demonstrated in my book, The Most Intelligent Language in the World. C. It is this unbelief that explains that despite all the demonstrations, all the evidence that we have provided so far, people continue not to believe in the third secret of Fatima, launching on your humble servant anathema on anathema. However, a disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for a disciple to be like his teacher, and a servant like his master. If the head of the house has been called Beelzebul, how much more the members of his household. Matthew chapter 10, 24-25. You are free not to believe that the 12 tribes have not disappeared but have been hidden by the Almighty Himself. If so, can any of you explain to me the 144,000 mentioned in Revelation chapter 7, 4-8? Ingata. Pastor Melo.